Okay, friends, welcome, friends. This is Sunandsharrma. I am based in Den Haag, Netherlands, and we are here again with one more real interview session. So today we have Praveen Kadam with us, and last week he has cleared the Cognizant Scrum Master interview, and in today's session will be based on same. So welcome, Praveen, and thanks for giving your time and to share your experience with us.
Yes, thank you, Sunan. Thanks for having me here again.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So Praveen, if you just tell us about yourself in a brief, that will be great.
Sure. So Sunan, myself, Praveen, I am staying in Pune. My family is here in last 40 years. I have done all my education from Pune. I have done my master's degree in computer science back in 2011. After that, I got the opportunity to work with the company called Key Recruitment Solutions Private Limited, which is a recruitment company. So I was a part of building applicant tracking system in PHP and MySQL. So for a 2.5 year, I worked there as a PHP developer. After that, I got the another opportunity to work with Zento Systems, where currently I'm working on. So in Zento Systems, which is again a product-based company, and they are having a property management software as a product, which is called Entrata. So I'm here in Zento from last 7 years. So I have a total 10 years of experience in the IT industry, out of which 7 years in Agile. And from last 3.7 years, I'm working as a Scrum Master. Even I've done my CSM certification. I have a good understanding of Safe, Kanban, and Nexus as well. Yeah, so that was a little bit about myself.
Okay, great. Okay, Praveen. So shall we start with our questions?
Sure. Sir.
Okay. So here the first one. So what is, according to you, what is doing Agile versus being Agile mean?
Yes. So Sunan, in Agile Manifesto, we have 12 principles and 4 values. Based on that, we have multiple frameworks which have been there, like Scrum, Kanban, Safe, Lean, and some other frameworks. So making use of those frameworks in the software industry and building the products, okay, and making sure we are building a right product in the right direction and with a given deadline. So implementing those framework for the purpose of building software applications like products is nothing but doing Agile. And at the same time, Agile is the mindset which you can utilize in your day-to-day life as well, in your real life, to solve some kind of complex problems or maybe some sort of other problems, which you can make a use of these principles, so which will help you to to tackle the situations or the problems that you have. So adopting this and setting up this mindset of being Agile, this is nothing but, as per my understanding, is being Agile. Yeah.
And could you just tell us about your one favorite Agile value and why?
Basically, all Agile values are equally important, but one of my favorite, as in, is nothing but the customer collaboration over contract negotiation. The thing is, 10, I mean, out of 10 years in my experience, first 2 and 5 years, I was working in a waterfall, a traditional waterfall model, 2.5 years. So, and after that, I started working with Zento, where it was purely an Agile. So I have faced both of these situations. So where I know where the customer collaboration is there in the waterfall and in the Agile. So working with the waterfall, customer collaboration comes at the end of your product deployment or delivery, or at the time of review of your product. But in the Agile, it is very beneficial. The beauty of Agile is the customer is involved from the first sprint itself, in the kind of sprint review and some other activities of this Scrum events. So having the customer with us, with the development or Scrum team, is definitely beneficial in terms of predicting the risk or the dependencies, or even the customer has to directly deal with the developer. So the things becomes more smooth, more strong, more transparent when you have a customer with you from the at the beginning of the project itself. So that is why I really like this particular value, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Yes. Okay. And you just mentioned about you have seen both the world, waterfall and the agile way of working. So according to you, do you have any experience in transitioning from waterfall to agile, and what sort of challenges which you have faced and how you have overcome those challenges?
Yeah. In practical, I do not have that experience of transition, but since I mentioned I have worked with waterfall and agile, so I can easily make out the difference between those two the practices. So there are multiple challenges that I can predict while working with the agile and comparing that with the waterfall. So a few of those are like changing the people mindset to the agile. So because the people who are working with a waterfall model, so it becomes little difficult to change their mindset and to be in agile, because they are not that habitual of working in the scrum practices, scrum meetings, daily stand-ups, and all other scrum events that we have in agile. Then second, influencing these scrum practices, like all these scrum events. Okay, so in waterfall, I do not think, I mean, there are some kind of meetings, but the core meetings, and there are there is specific purpose behind each scrum event. I do not think that is there in the waterfall model. So it is more strongly have been adopted in the scrum practices. So influencing those scrum practices can be another challenge while working with the agile over the waterfall. Then in agile we have a different the techniques like estimation techniques. We have different kinds of retrospective methods. Okay, so going through these different methods, different estimation techniques, and adopting those in agile when you're especially from a waterfall model, so that is a kind of some challenge that a particular one can face initially. Then going ahead, like challenges, there are some challenges in roles and responsibilities, because in scrum we have a scrum team which consists of a development team where each one is a developer in a team, apart from a product owner and the scrum master, the rest of all the developers. So there is no role or designation is coming between this this scrum. So even though QA, we have developers, we have SQL engineers, we have architect, but while working in agile, all are at the same level, all are developers. So changing this mindset and the role and responsibility, adopting those in a when you're especially coming from waterfall, that is again one of the challenge. And once you start working in agile scrum, you might face some conflicts between the developers and the product owners, or maybe some point in time scrum master and the product owner. So these conflicts can arise at any point of time. So again, that would be another challenge over waterfall model. Yeah, so there are these 5-6 challenges that I can predict. Yeah.
Okay, good. And can you also browse us through the different Scrum events? And again, which one is your favorite?
Yes. So according to the Scrum guide, there are sprint planning meeting, daily stand-ups, we have sprint reviews, sprint retrospectives, and even we have a product backlog refinement. And in terms of having one favorite, again, it is not something is a favorite or something is a very good. Each and every event in a scrum is equally important as per my understanding, because each one has a specific purpose and each one is giving you some value to your business. So each one is equally important. Yeah, I can say.
Okay, and what are the different ways by which you can estimate your user stories?
Yeah, so in my current organization, we use planning poker as an estimation technique, where we have a story point as an estimation, not the hours. And we do these story points based on the 3 factors. The first one is the efforts required for the feature to deliver. Then the complexity of the feature, and a risk or a kind of uncertainty that can come during the development. So based on these 3 factors, the team estimates the story points to the user stories, and we use Fibonacci series in a planning poker. So this is how we as a team estimate.
Okay, and you mentioned about story points. So what's the difference between estimating in hours and estimating in story points?
Yes, yeah, I mean, there are many discussions on this particular topic. So I have, I have as per my understanding, I would say ours is a kind of very, in terms of a linear than the exponential, where story point is more of an exponential estimation, where we have specific ratios during between the two numbers. Like in exponential, in the linear, in working with hours, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the linear numbers. But in exponential, specifically in Fibonacci, we have a different ratios within the two numbers, like 1, 3. So each number is the addition of last two numbers. So there is a specific ratio. Then second, a fundamental difference is that estimating in hours sometimes become very time consuming, time complexity. As per the complexity of the stories, it becomes more time consuming. Sometimes it becomes very chaos to go in detail and vote particular thing in hours. Instead of that, if we have the story point as an estimation where it uses the relative estimation is nothing but comparing your stories with a relative user story. So having this comparison makes this very quick in terms of estimation. So we know that sprint planning is a time box activity, and if you have multiple items that has to be estimated, then we should be pretty quick in terms of estimating. So estimation in terms of story points, especially in relative estimation, makes it more quick. So this is what I understood from estimating in hours versus estimating in story points.
Okay. And when you have started your career as a Scrum Master, right? So which Scrum event is you find most challenging, and how you overcome that?
Yes. So challenging as in, so obviously when you start as a Scrum Master, each and every event, first initial few days are quite challenging for you because you are not that habitual of those. But once you start and do the practice of these all Scrum events, it becomes quite easy. But even though within that, I would say a retrospective is a kind of a challenging for me, because even though you plan a few of the things, you plan, you do a refinements regularly, you do a daily stand-ups regularly, you do reviews regularly, you get a feedback regularly, but still there are some technical uncertainties that can come during the sprint development. And some point in time, it becomes it is a situations where you're not able to understand what should be a retrospective action on particular these things. Even you have tried scaling up the technical competencies of your team members, but still there are technical uncertainties and few things can come. So at that point of time, creating some action items on those particular points in retrospectives become quite challenging. Apart from that, yeah, I mean, rest look good. Yes.
Okay. And according to you, what is a working agreement? And if you can share some real example based on that.
Okay. So are you talking about working agreement within the PO, Scrum Master, or within devs, or what? I mean, if I have to understand these questions clearly.
Yeah.
Okay. So as per my understanding, working agreement is nothing but a common or shared understanding which is made by Scrum team within the Scrum team to make the process more strong or more transparent, I would say, so that your increment goes very well, okay, without having any major challenges. So that is an working agreement that the team is creating based on their scenarios and the experiences that they are facing, so that that will not happen in future. So one of the example I would like to give is I was working with one of the team a year back, where my product owner was little aggressive and he was in favor of taking the additional features in the sprint, because he was in the favor of that. We are working in Agile, so we should always adopt and there should be a scope of additional things. So he was taking additional features during the sprint, and then we observed that a couple of sprints. Then the team, I had one-on-one with my team, and they said that we are getting this regular additional requirements. So team was not focused. They were losing their moral, and the focus was, I mean, they were getting distracted because of these things. So they were not able to complete their own features that they are developing. Okay, so this was the situation. Now, out of this situation, my goal was to make this process more transparent when we have these kind of new challenges in future. So, and again, to gain my team moral and team focus back on the place, because there was some challenge. So what we did, so we had a meeting with the product owner, and we said, yes, your prioritization techniques are very good, you're prioritizing the things very good, but we have observed a couple of requests which are coming during the sprint, and those are the additional ones. We know, we can understand there can be an urgency, but we should come across with a common understanding to handle such kind of situations, because team is losing their motivation, because again, focus is one of the strong value of a Scrum. So we should not lose that at the same time. So what we did, we created an common agreement called ad hoc request agreement, where we mentioned that if we have a 2 weeks of cycle sprint, so what we decided, if the additional requirements are coming in the second week or maybe at the end of the week, then that will be taken into the next sprint. But if additional requirements are coming in the first week, okay, and if we have a good capacity, and there can be the same story points items can be shifted back to the product backlog from our sprint backlog. If we have that scope, then we'll take that and we'll work on it. So this is how we created an agreement. And after that, whenever there are new additional changes, so product owner was knowing that how we should tackle this additional changes by looking at this work common agreement. So that was one of the example I wanted to share. Yes, that was.
Okay, good. And if you'd like to share some of the recent impediments which you or your team has encountered, and how you overcome those impediments.
Yeah, I mean, generally we face some common impediments like some unscheduled leaves nowadays. Then we all are working remotely, so we are not able to predict the working hours. I mean, we don't have to predict the working hours, but some point in time the things are not on the track. Unscheduled leaves again. So there are common, but I remember one of the impediment that we had in a team was so when I was working with the reporting team, so my team member had to connect with the DBA team regularly to get the database logs, live logs from the live database, because of some limitations of access to the developers. But the DBA had that access, so they regularly have to connect with the DBA team. So some point in time, when my team was needing some logs from the DBA team, so they were getting some delays from a DBA team, because they were again working on their own task, and they had their own deadlines. So that were delaying the process in my team, the features delivery in my team. So then my team connected with me, and they said, this is the impediment that we have. If we do not get the logs on time, then we might lose our sprint. So what we did, we introduced a new role called virtual DBA. So in that role, one particular a team member from one business unit will have provided those access that the DBA has, and that particular VDBA member will serve those requests for our business unit and for our Scrum teams. So there we reduce that time to directly reach to the DBA and get the logs. So now the VDBA was directly working with our business unit, so it was more faster than the earlier. There was no delay. So this is how we reduce the delay and this impediment that team was facing. So that was one of the good example I had faced, and this is how we overcome.
Okay. And I'm sure you might have faced a lot of conflict situation in your career in the past. So would you like to share some of those situations with us, and how you overcome as a Scrum Master?
Sure. So Sunan, I mean, generally we do many conflicts because we are working with the different people, so they have different mindsets. So some point in time we can come up with some, their own thoughts. Those are not beyond the same page, so the conflicts can arise. So the conflicts can be between devs and Scrum Masters, product owner, and the stakeholders as well. But I remember one of my conflict, which was with the product owner. So when he was prioritizing the features, so he was always in a favor of taking the features and not the bugs. And the team was in the fear of, we are increasing our technical depths by having number of defects as it is. We are not getting, utilizing those defects in our sprint planning meeting. So the technical depth was increasing, and we had first 2-3 discussions with the product owner, but he said, yes, we will take it, but we could not see a major difference taking those defects in a sprint planning meeting. And gradually, at the same time, the depth was increasing. So there was a conflict. The team was wanting to take a few of the defects, but product owner was always in a favor of taking features than the defects. Then what we did, we again connected with the product owner, and I informed him that, see, even though if we are not working on the defects, that is again going to impact the product eventually. Okay, not now, but in future definitely is going to affect the feature. Our product. So if we go on taking the features and not the bugs, technical depth will increase, and that will impact the product. So he understood that yes. Then we again created one agreement where we should be taking the 10% of the capacity. We should be utilized for this technical depths. And then we started taking like a few bugs during the sprint. I mean, in the sprint, and gradually we started reducing our technical depths. So that was the conflicting situations, and this is how we tackle it by taking 10% of utilizing the 10% of the capacity in the sprint planning and this capacity.
Okay, great. And how do you measure if your team is self-organized or self-managed?
Yes. So being a Scrum Master, that is one of my biggest responsibility, to make my team a self-organized. So they should take their own decision. They should, resolve their own impediments. For sure, I'll be there initially. If few of the impediments are pretty new, they are not knowing how to proceed it, I'll help them. I'll be a coach. I'll be an a team agent. I can communicate with the external teams out there and get it sorted. But I would be expecting that team will do it by their own from the next time. So that is nothing but the self-organization. They should take their own decision. They should take there and assign the task within themselves. Okay, so there are a few factors which define or maybe which tells you that your team is self-organized. So we have an impediment aging tracker where we track the impediments that are coming during the sprint, and we track how much time that they are there in the tracker. Okay, so this impediment aging tracker help us to predict over a couple of sprints how that are we reducing this aging tracker or not, impediment aging tracker or not. If that is reducing, then definitely our team is self-organized and they are resolving their own impediments. Then we have a defect density matrix, which is again a kind of a technical depth. The more number of defects are there, that means you have more technical depth. Okay, so team proactively taking those defects during the sprint without fail, and making sure that we are gradually reducing this technical depth. Okay, without telling by me or someone else, they are doing themselves. So that is nothing but again one of the example of self-organization. And maybe a few of the things which you can easily observe, like there are no major challenges that have been faced in task assignment. Team is getting the task assigned within themselves by their own. There are no major challenges. Then some point in time, if I am not there in a sprint, so they are driving the Scrum events by their own. Okay, again, that is one of the good example. There is no cherry picking in the task in the sprint. Then they are taking their own decision. So, and they are also coming up few new innovative ideas or the improvement areas in a retrospective. So all of these points will definitely help you to measure if your team is self-organized or not. So few things are there in the metrics. Few things you can easily get the data by having a kind of a survey once in a month or something like that. So collecting those data will help you measure that. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we are done with all these questions, Praveen, which were
Yeah.
asked in your interview. I think it's a good session, and whoever is going to watch this, they're definitely going to learn a lot of things. Only request to all the viewers, always use these answers as a reference always, and always try to infuse your own experience in all these questions and answers which we have discussed just now. So yeah, thanks one more time, Praveen, for your time, and see you in our next session.
Yes. Thank you, Sunan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.